So far we have talked about the theories of meaning related to the words or simple expressions. Let's move on to the theories of meaning in relation to complete sentences or expressions. In this regard, it's very difficult to develop or to explain a complete theory of meaning of sentences. So far, we are unable to find such complete theory of meaning. This theory of truth conditions is probably one possibility which will help us to understand and explain how meanings can be generated in sentences. And this proposes that meanings actually rely on the truth value of the sentences. Either the sentences are true or false, that determines their truth value, and that may be seen as their meaning. These truth conditions may be understood as the possible ways, and we can understand what these possible ways are by using our commonsensical knowledge, because we employ this knowledge in most of our daily situations. Truth conditions may be seen as the possible ways or the possible situations in which a certain statement may be true or false. If you just look at your screen, you will find a sentence written there. It says the circle is inside the square, and there are three pictures downwards. If you see them, these diagrams, and you have to analyze which diagram actually conveys what is written in the sentence. The circle is inside the square. And if you look deep, you will find it's the very first diagram which conveys the meaning of the sentence there. There are certain possible ways in which a certain statement can be explained, and only one of those, or possibly two of those, can be correct. In this situation, only the first one is correct, because in this situation, the circle is inside the square. In the second one, you can see is the square which is inside the circle, and in the third one, the circle is half inside the square and half outside the square. So both are incorrect. Only the first one is correct. Similarly, we dig out the meanings of sentences, because sentences may be true in certain possible ways and not in the others. And this kind of logical patterning is very important to understand the meaning of sentences. The knowledge of meaning involves the knowledge of conditions under which it is true or false as far as sentences are concerned. And in order to know in which situations they are true or false, we need to know the possible ways of their occurrence, or possible ways their being correct or incorrect. What are these possible worlds? These possible worlds are probably possible truth conditions of those sentences. The notion of possible worlds does not mean something imaginary or disconnected from reality. Rather, it is very closely tied to the specific conditions, and similarly very close to the reality or the real world. They do not emerge out of the idiosyncratic ideas of somebody or somebody's imagination. These possible worlds are actually tied well with the real world, and they cannot be the figments of somebody's imagination. This is similar to our normal practices in daily life. For example, if you face a question like who committed a certain crime, so you start answering by thinking about certain options. They may exist in the real world around you, or you might take help of your previous experiences in order to answer this question. So in all situations, such even a policeman, when he confronts this question, he looks for certain options, he looks for certain persons who might have committed it, and then he starts collecting other evidence in order to answer this question. And based on all those collaborative evidences, in order to support the possibilities there, he is usually able to answer the question who committed a crime. So this is a very normal practice in our daily life. In this way, we can say that this theory relies heavily on the proposition. Proposition are the possible ways to explain a certain thing. The proposition expressed by a sentence amounts simply to its truth conditions, a set of possible worlds. So, truth conditions are based on a proposition or propositions which actually contain the truth conditions under which that statement or sentence may be true or false. As when you say the word dog, it leads us to think about a certain animal and not others. Similarly, when you say or write a sentence, it leads us to think about certain things and not others. Therefore, we can create truth conditions in which it can be true and not the others. There are certain advantages of this theory of truth conditions. For example, it help us to develop some logical conditions for sentences, and in this way, it helps us to use logical words like and or not. Otherwise, we do not use them, or we do not understand their semantic importance. There are definitely certain limitations of this theory of truth conditions, because this may be true to certain declarative statements in which the facts are stated in a straightforward way, and we could assess them on the basis of their truthfulness or their falsity. But in many statements, like in interrogative statements or imperative statements, how would you judge their truthfulness or falsity? So it will be very difficult to develop truth conditions for imperative or interrogative statements. For example, if somebody say, who did Kashif visit? What is truth or what is false in here? The answer the possible answers may not be assessed as true or false. I mean, this statement itself cannot be judged as true or false. So, some semanticists who support this truth condition theory, they say that answers of such questions may not be found in their truth or falsification. Rather, they may be found in possible answers. I mean, you develop answers on the possibilities. Who did Kashif visit? Kashif visit Imran, Kashif visit Wasim. So in all these possibilities, you can find a right answer. Similarly, if somebody says, take the right option, this is an imperative statement. So what is true or false in it? Again, a very challenging situation. And again, some of the semanticists who support theory of truth conditions inform us that you should look for satisfactory or unsatisfactory conditions in order to deal with such situations. In order to find possible worlds for such statements on a truth or falsity scale, you need to find the possible answers or possible worlds in such situations, in imperative situations, on the scale of satisfactory and unsatisfactory. So, and that could probably help us determine their truth or possible worlds. Overall, this theory has been very popular among many semanticists, but as we see it in detail, this may not help us to also to develop a complete theory of the meaning of sentences. We might need more information to develop a comprehensive theory of the meaning of sentences.